Good people, what is going on? Another episode of the All Grow Podcast. I am your host, Desmond. It is a beautiful looking day so far in Michigan. It's still a little chilly. It's like, I don't know, mid-30s, I think, but it's supposed to get a little warmer today. So that's why I'm all bundled up on my quick walk. But I woke up to see Ja'Marr Chase and T. Higgins both have extensions. They are collectively making roughly about $70 million per year. They said and basically half of T. Higgins' deal is guaranteed. I think they said the first 2 years, so call it $60 million. He's just under 30 a year, but call it the $60 million. Ja'Marr Chase, I think $116 million or something of that is fully guaranteed for him. So these guys are going to make a ton of money. And my thought on it is a couple things. So number one, if the Bengals were a stock, I would be shorting that stock. And here is why. Last year, T. Higgins did miss a couple games, but he still caught 10 touchdowns in a season, which is terrific. And we all know Ja'Marr Chase had a dominant season, won the Triple Crown, catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Had a monster season, 1,600 yards, if I'm not mistaken. I might be a little bit off there, but he had a terrific year. And the Bengals were 9-8, and they missed the playoffs. Now, it's not as black and white as, oh, well, the offense should have been better. But the point is, you can have those two guys playing well, dominating, and you can still not be good enough to win, to get in the playoffs, which 9-8, that's on the edge. But nonetheless, I'm shorting the stock because number one, what I just mentioned, those guys can have great seasons and you still can be not good enough to get in the playoffs. And also the thing that is important is I'm not shorting it because it's impossible to be a really good team with two highly paid wide receivers. It can happen. The Philadelphia Eagles just dominated in the Super Bowl, and for most of their playoff games were dominant, and they have two highly paid receivers, right? So that's not something that is impossible to do, but you've got to nail your draft picks, and you have to have a lot of cheap labor on the payroll. Samaje Perine, let him go a couple of years ago. Joe Mixon was on the team, let him go years ago. Jesse Bates just walked. Sounds like they might be letting Trey Hendrickson go. But who's the young guys that they've been crushing in the draft? Dax Hill is a safety that they drafted out of Michigan a few years back. Don't know what's going to happen there. We'll see. But it's not as if they have a roster just loaded with, guys that are very low on the payroll. So I don't think that this is a sustainable model for them. And it's important to get Joe Burrow some weapons and tools, but does anyone think that Joe Burrow is the type of quarterback that if he doesn't have two Pro Bowl level receivers that he's not going to be good? Right? That's part of the reason we pay you $55 million a year is because you are one of those guys. You elevate who we have. Could you have traded T. Higgins last season and picked up a 2 and then drafted a young receiver in the second round? I think so, but that's not what they chose to do. It'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm shorting the stock. So interested in your thoughts, let me know. While you're here, go ahead and subscribe. Appreciate it. That's it for me. Peace.